For many years, Fast and Loud was the top show on Discovery Channel. It had loud car engines, big personalities from Texas, and huge paydays. But behind all the grease, smiles, and gas monkey show was a darker truth that cameras weren't supposed to catch. Every episode showed fast cars and quick deals. But what happened after the cameras turned off? That's the part Discovery never wanted you to see. There were loud arguments that had to be removed, cars that mysteriously disappeared during builds, and a deal so bad it almost stopped the show for good. Even the biggest fans didn't know how close Richard Rawlings' business came to falling apart, or how many secrets were quietly hidden in Discovery's editing room. One producer called it organized chaos, where every fight, every broken promise, and every bad deal had to be made nice for a family-friendly TV show. But sometimes not even Hollywood could hide the truth. Tonight, we're showing the 5 times Gas Monkey Garage went too far for TV. From stolen builds and secret fights to scenes so crazy Discovery removed them. These weren't fake blow-ups or planned drama. These were real moments that almost destroyed the garage. And it all starts with a deal that nearly cost Richard Rawlings everything. A deal so explosive, Discovery buried it under 3 different versions before it was gone forever. Every great business starts with one bad bet. And for Richard Rawlings, that bet almost took down Fast and Loud. It started as one of those episodes made for high ratings. High risk, rare car, and just enough pride to keep things tense. The car was a special one, a 1968 Shelby Mustang GT500, the kind of American muscle car that made collectors nervous. Discovery promoted the episode months early, teasing Rawlings' biggest purchase ever. Cameras rolled as Richard walked into a dusty Texas warehouse to meet the owner, an old-school collector named Wayne, known for his bad temper and his love of real cars. On camera, everything looked smooth. Richard used his charm, made a joke, and set a price that made Wayne interested. They shook hands, and the crew cheered. But when the camera stopped, the deal started to fall apart fast. According to people who were there, Discovery's producers had quietly pushed Rawlings to play up the drama, even telling him to offer Wayne less money to make better TV. The idea was to create tension, drama, something fans could talk about. But what they didn't expect was how far Rawlings would go with it. After the cameras finished, paperwork got messy. A set of rare Shelby parts, chrome trim, custom heads, and a factory steering wheel reportedly disappeared from the warehouse, supposedly taken by a delivery person connected to the show. The next day, Wayne said Gas Monkey Garage walked away with thousands of dollars in parts without final payment. He said he would take legal action, and the phone calls between Discovery and Rawlings were intense. Producers rushed to fix it. The footage, originally planned for the mid-season premiere, was suddenly under review. Discovery's legal team wanted every frame checked. Editors were told to remove the fight. Entire parts of shouting and blaming were deleted. We had to re-edit that thing 3 times. One post-production worker later said, "The first version looked like a lawsuit waiting to happen." In the final aired episode, fans only saw a smiling Richard shaking hands. The deal complete, and the Shelby rolling into the Gas Monkey shop like nothing had gone wrong. But behind the scenes, filming stopped for nearly a week. Crew members were told not to talk about it, and a silence order kept the details quiet. Even Aaron Kaufman reportedly refused to film that week, calling the whole mess business, not hot rodding. The tension got worse when Discovery said they would stop filming unless the problem was settled privately. Rawlings eventually paid the seller a secret payment, though people say it was less about being guilty and more about keeping the cameras rolling. The car was quietly sold months later, never mentioned again on air. Fans wondered why the Shelby build disappeared from the show's schedule mid-season. This was why what could have been a great episode became a buried secret that nearly ended Fast and Loud altogether. In later interviews, Richard joked about bad deals and crazy sellers, but he never mentioned the one that forced Discovery to rewrite entire stories. To the public, it was another flashy Gas Monkey episode. To the crew, it was the closest the show ever came to falling apart. As one producer later said, that deal changed how we filmed everything after. No more open deals, no more loose talk. We learned the hard way that when real money's involved, there's no room for television magic. It was supposed to be another gas monkey win, a symbol of Richard's unstoppable work. Instead, it became the ghost deal that haunted the garage for years. And as things calmed down from that chaos, something even worse was starting. A theft inside the shop itself that Discovery fought to keep off air at all costs. Because next, the car didn't just disappear from the deal. It vanished from the garage. If the Shelby deal nearly broke Gas Monkey's reputation, the next incident nearly broke the entire show. What started as a dream build for a loyal customer turned into one of the darkest chapters in the shop's history. A mystery that Discovery buried so deep, only pieces of it ever got out. The project was supposed to be easy. A complete restoration of a customer's special 1932 Ford Hot Rod. The kind of car that meant everything to its owner. Emotional value, family history, and tens of thousands invested. It had been dropped off months earlier, taken apart, and was halfway through paint and body when disaster hit. It happened late one night after the crew had gone home. According to people who were there, the shop's alarms didn't go off, possibly because of a problem or a code change during renovations. By the time morning came, the bay doors were wide open and the hot rod was gone, vanished. The cameras only caught shadows on the edge of a security video. Grainy, almost ghost-like shapes moving in the dark. When the team arrived that morning, chaos broke out. Richard stormed through the shop yelling, demanding answers. Discovery producers, caught completely off guard, rushed to control the situation. They were in the middle of shooting an ongoing episode around that same car. It was supposed to be the big mid-season build. Without it, half the production schedule fell apart. Police were called. Insurance people showed up. But behind the scenes, the tension was explosive. One version of events says the theft wasn't random, that someone who'd worked for the shop had access to the building and knew exactly where the keys and parts were kept. Another story claimed it was a setup, a stunt gone wrong, meant to create reality TV drama that went out of control. Discovery wanted nothing to do with either version. Within hours, bosses sent a message to stop all filming related to the missing car. The footage from that week, the discovery of the theft, Richard's angry outburst, and the police involvement was labeled as not for airing material. It never saw the light of day. Crew members who spoke later described it as one of the few times they saw Rawlings truly worried. This wasn't just about money. It was about pride. He reportedly told producers, "We're supposed to look like the best shop in the world, and now we look like amateurs who can't even lock a door." The insurance company and the car's owner entered a brutal fight that went on for months, with the show caught in the middle. Rumors spread online that Discovery had purposely staged the theft to increase ratings. But those who were there say the anger, the panic, and the silence afterward were all too real. The car was never found, and to this day, no one outside that circle knows where it went. Some say it was taken apart and sold for parts within 48 hours. Others whisper it was hidden by someone close to the shop to avoid getting caught. When Fast and Loud returned weeks later, fans noticed something strange. The previously advertised Hot Rod Restoration episode vanished from the season lineup. Instead, Discovery aired a filler episode, a random build shot in a hurry with awkward timing jumps and unexplained absences from certain crew members. It was the cover-up hidden in plain sight. Behind closed doors, Discovery doubled its security rules, new alarm systems, keycard access, required after-hours sign-ins. But the damage was done. The spirit in the garage had broken, and whispers began to spread through the crew. If they can steal a car out of Gas Monkey, what else can disappear? The incident never made the news. No official police report was ever published, but people still call it the night Gas Monkey lost control. It wasn't just a car that vanished. It was trust. Trust in the system, trust between the team, and trust between the show and its fans. But as Discovery tried to control the damage, another storm was already starting. This one not from thieves or outsiders, but from inside the garage itself. Because when egos crash and tempers explode, even family can turn into enemies. Next up, the fight between Aaron Kaufman and Christy Brimberry that producers tried and failed to erase. By the time Fast and Loud hit its best point, the chemistry between Richard Rawlings, Aaron Kaufman, and Christy Brimberry was television gold. The perfect mix of chaos, charm, and car culture. But behind the scenes, that chemistry was unstable. And by season 5, the cracks were starting to show. Discovery's cameras caught the smiles, the high fives, the friendly jokes. What they didn't capture, or rather what they later deleted, were the shouting matches that nearly tore the team apart. It started small, scheduling disagreements, creative fights, and the constant pressure of TV deadlines. Aaron, the careful craftsman, wanted more time for perfection. Christy, the operations manager, had one job: keep builds on schedule and keep Discovery happy. That combination, under the bright lights and constant filming, became a ticking time bomb. Former crew members say the tension really exploded during a particularly stressful build. A high-profile project meant to show at SEMA, the world's biggest custom car show. Discovery bosses wanted a showstopper episode. Aaron wanted to build something timeless. Christy wanted to hit the deadline. Richard just wanted something that looked good on camera. The breaking point came late one night when cameras were still rolling. A disagreement over parts and budget turned into a verbal fight between Aaron and Christy that froze the entire garage. Witnesses say Aaron blamed her of running the shop like a spreadsheet, while Christy fired back that he was hurting the show by ignoring production schedules. Both of them were right and both were angry. Producers let the argument play out for nearly 10 minutes, their cameras catching every insult, every flash of anger. Discovery bosses later called it the most explosive footage we ever shot at Gas Monkey. But when the edit reached the network's legal department, it never made it past review. Too personal, too real, too damaging. What fans eventually saw was a cleaned-up version. A few tense looks, a few short sound bites, and an unclear voice over about creative differences. What they didn't see was what happened next. Aaron walking off set, refusing to film for 2 days, and Christy reportedly threatening to quit unless Discovery stopped turning the shop into a circus. The damage spread through the crew. Lines were drawn. Some stood behind Aaron's artistic honesty, others behind Christy's professionalism. Richard, caught in the middle, tried to calm both sides, but the damage couldn't be fixed. Discovery had built a hit show on controlled chaos. Now it had the real thing, and it was about to explode. When Aaron finally announced his departure from Fast and Loud in 2017, fans were told it was about new opportunities and creative growth. But people who were there knew that wasn't the whole truth. Aaron didn't just leave. One producer later said he escaped. And while Discovery quietly moved on, editing around his absence, Christy stayed, but with a new guard up. The show survived, but the heart of the garage never felt the same again. Still, even as tensions cooled on camera, another spark was about to catch fire. One that couldn't be smoothed over or re-edited. Because if Aaron's departure was about passion, the next problem was about pure, unfiltered anger. Up next, the day Tom Smith's mouth nearly got the entire show shut down. Every garage has a wild card. And at Gas Monkey Garage, that was Tom Smith. Fans loved him for his strange humor and honest talk. But behind the scenes, that no-filter attitude was both his strength and his weakness. Tom was an old-school mechanic in a made-for-TV world. And when deadlines clashed with pride, his words hit harder than a tool to the face. The meltdown that Discovery buried happened midway through a stressful build. A high-dollar customer project running days behind schedule. The crew had been working 14-hour shifts for nearly a week. Tempers were short, parts were missing, and the cameras were everywhere. That combination was a recipe for disaster, and Tom Smith was about to serve it. The flashpoint came during a scene that was supposed to be routine. A final assembly part with Tom leading the wiring and electrical. But as the cameras rolled, a mix-up about a misplaced alternator sent everything spiraling. A producer off camera reportedly asked Tom to recreate his frustration for a better take. A suggestion that in looking back was a mistake. Tom exploded. What followed was 10 minutes of cursing so creative that Discovery's editors later said, "You couldn't even bleep it." There weren't enough bleeps in the world. He tore into the crew, the producers, and even Richard Rawlings himself, accusing the network of caring more about drama than the cars. "We're supposed to be building hot rods," he shouted, "not playing TV puppets." The outburst was raw, unfiltered, and for the first time, honest. Crew members froze. Cameras kept rolling as Tom kicked over a tool cart, ripped off his gas monkey shirt, and stormed out the bay doors. Discovery's on-site producer, reportedly shaken, immediately called a stop to filming. The footage was locked away, labeled unusable, internal only. Rumors later spread that Richard tried to calm Tom down privately, knowing how valuable he was to the show's energy. But the damage was done. Tom's outburst had crossed from entertaining chaos into business problem. Discovery's bosses in Los Angeles reviewed the footage and gave a clear answer. It would never air, not even edited. It was considered unfit for broadcast on any platform. The crew jokingly called it the Garage Meltdown, a story whispered in corners, but never confirmed publicly. What fans eventually saw was a heavily res-hot version of the episode pieced together with staged dialogue and filler scenes. Tom appeared briefly, quieter, clearly after the blow-up, the energy gone. Within a few months, his contract quietly expired. Officially, it was creative differences. Unofficially, everyone knew that the network had lost patience with its most unpredictable mechanic. Tom himself would later joke about the situation in interviews, saying they wanted reality. So I gave them reality. They just weren't ready for it. Behind closed doors, Discovery tightened control, more watching, stricter language rules, required cool-off breaks during filming. The days of unfiltered gas monkey chaos were over. Or so they thought, because the next problem wouldn't be about yelling, money, or stolen cars. It would be about something completely different, something Discovery couldn't just bleep or reshoot. The next scene crossed a very different kind of line. One that involved Christy Brimberry, a swimsuit, and a moment that never saw daylight. By the time this final problem unfolded, Fast and Loud was already a full-blown TV empire. Ratings were high, merchandise was flying off the shelves, and Discovery bosses were pushing for bigger, flashier moments to keep viewers hooked. Somewhere in that mix of ambition and chaos came an idea. A fun summer-themed episode to lighten the mood after months of high-stress builds and behind-the-scenes drama. What was meant to be a harmless promotional shoot would turn into the most infamous moment Discovery ever buried. The setup sounded innocent enough. A charity car show at a Texas lakefront, a few custom convertibles, and the Gas Monkey crew having fun in the sun. Cameras rolled, engines roared, and the mood was playful. But when producers decided to film a light-hearted promo scene featuring Christy Brimberry, the no-nonsense office manager and unexpected fan favorite, they had no idea the backlash that was about to happen. According to multiple people who were there, the plan was simple. Christy would appear in a branded Gas Monkey swimsuit for a quick part promoting the event's charity auction. Nothing inappropriate, just the same kind of marketing image any car show might use. But as cameras rolled, Discovery's on-set team began over-directing the moment. Different camera angles, slow-motion shots, and music cues were added, turning what was supposed to be a fun 30-second clip into something much more stylized. When the rough cut hit Discovery's editorial department, alarm bells rang instantly. The tone didn't match the show's family-friendly branding. Bosses reportedly called it too suggestive for a prime-time slot, and the footage was pulled from the editing queue within hours. One senior producer later admitted it wasn't inappropriate by normal standards, but for Fast and Loud crossed a line we couldn't risk on national TV. The decision caused chaos in post-production. The episode had already been promoted. Teaser trailers hinted at a beach day with Christy, and fans were expecting something fun and lighthearted. Now, Discovery had to re-edit the entire storyline without the main footage. Internally, it became known as the missing Christy scene. Editors were ordered to remove all traces of the swimsuit promo. No references, no behind-the-scenes clips, nothing that might start rumors. But the internet noticed. Early preview stills accidentally released to partner networks began spreading on fan forums. Screenshots of Christie in the gas monkey swimsuit appeared briefly before being pulled down, fueling guessing that Discovery had censored something too hot for TV. The story took on a life of its own. Some fans blamed the network of overreacting, while others defended the decision, arguing it disrespected the tone of the show. Inside the shop, it became a running joke. Crew members teased Christie about being banned by Discovery, while Richard Rawlings laughed it off in interviews, calling it the most expensive 30 seconds of footage we never aired. Still, not everyone found it funny. Christie reportedly felt frustrated, not by the filming itself, but by how the situation was handled. She'd done nothing wrong. Yet, suddenly, she was at the center of a PR storm she didn't create. Discovery, determined to bury the incident, removed all mentions of it from official records. Even years later, the raw footage remains sealed, unseen, unreleased, and unacknowledged. But among longtime fans and ex-crew members, it remains one of the most talked about lost scenes in reality TV history. In the end, the swimsuit scene became symbolic, not a scandal, but of how far Fast and Loud had drifted from its roots. What started as a raw, real show about gearheads building cars had turned into a tightly controlled TV product, polished to perfection and stripped of its wild edge. From shady deals and stolen cars to fights, meltdowns, and forbidden footage, Gas Monkey Garage didn't just push limits. It burned right through them. And though Discovery kept the cameras rolling, these moments remind us that what fans saw on screen was only half the story. Because behind every revved engine and smiling face was chaos Discovery couldn't control.